Somewhere in a used car lot on the outskirts of Sacramento tonight, a woman named Jennifer is handing over the keys to a 2019 Ford Transit she spent 4 years living in. The Transit is beautiful. It has $18,000 worth of custom cabinetry, a Vitrifrigo fridge, 400 watts of solar on the roof, and a lithium battery bank that cost her $2,400 by itself. It photographed well on her Instagram for 3 years. It broke down twice in the first 18 months. It ate her savings across 4 years of insurance, fuel, repairs, and parking tickets. The dealer offers her $19,500 for the whole thing. She takes it without negotiating. 20 minutes later, she signs the paperwork on a 2013 Honda Odyssey with 118,000 miles on it. She pays $7,200 in cash. She drives it off the lot with $12,000 more in her bank account than she had this morning, and a vehicle that will do everything her van did for about a quarter of the operating cost. She is not alone. Across America right now, in dealership lots and Craigslist meetups and Facebook Marketplace transactions from San Diego to Portland to Austin to Miami to Denver to Nashville to Phoenix to Salt Lake City to Boise, thousands of people who spent years building out $40,000, $60,000, and $80,000 van conversions are quietly selling those vans and buying minivans instead. Honda Odysseys, Toyota Siennas, Chrysler Pacificas, Dodge Grand Caravans, Kia Carnivals. Vehicles the van life industry never took seriously. Vehicles that were never on the Instagram grid. Vehicles that a decade of van life influencers dismissed as the boring family option nobody with taste would ever choose. And here's what nobody in the van industry wants to admit right now. The people making this switch are not settling. They are not giving up. They are not scaling down out of failure. They are looking at 10 years of data, 10 years of enforcement, insurance, fuel, and repair costs. And they are reaching a conclusion that keeps spreading across the community faster than anyone expected. The minivan was the correct answer the whole time. The van life industry sold a dream. The minivan community is quietly proving the dream was the wrong tool for the actual job. By the end of this, you will understand exactly why the switch is happening, what the 10 reasons are that keep coming up in every single conversation with people who have made the change, and why the community members who have taken the leap describe the decision as the most rational one they have made in years. Every number in this documentary comes from real dealer listings, real insurance quotes, real community reports, and real transaction records. Nothing about this is theoretical. Let us get into it. Let me tell you about Jennifer because her story is the story of thousands. She is 34 years old. She left her corporate job in San Francisco in 2021 at the peak of the van life wave. She had watched the same YouTube channels every prospective van lifer watched. She had followed the same Instagram accounts. She had done the math on remote work and the freedom the arrangement promised. She spent $42,000 on the used Ford Transit and another $18,000 on a professional build-out. Total investment, $60,000. Insurance ran her $2,850 a year. Fuel cost her over $400 a month. Repairs across 4 years came to about $7,800. Parking tickets and one impound recovery cost her another $4,200. Total operating cost across 4 years over $101,000. And that number does not include the mental cost of playing chess with parking enforcement every single night for 4 years straight. Her Odyssey cost $7,200 to buy. She installed a plywood platform in the back for $85 and a portable battery-powered fridge for $220. Her new insurance premium is $740 a year, which is a 74% drop from her transit rate. Her projected fuel cost is $160 a month, which is a 60% reduction. Her projected operating cost across the next 4 years, using her actual current numbers, is under $19,000. The differential between those two arrangements is over $82,000, which is another way of saying the van life industry cost Jennifer the down payment on a house. What Jennifer describes as the strangest part of the transition is how invisible she has become. Nobody looks at a 2013 Honda Odyssey twice. Security guards do not check on it in the middle of the night. Neighbors do not report it. Parking enforcement officers walk past it without a second glance. The Ford Transit she spent 4 years learning to hide is now sitting on a dealer lot with a for sale sign in the window, and the vehicle she never would have considered has quietly become the answer she was looking for the entire time. And when she talks to other van lifers who are considering the same switch, the response is almost always the same. They wish someone had told them earlier. They wish someone had done the math for them years ago. They wish the influencer economy that sold them the van dream had also mentioned that a $7,000 minivan would have done the job at a fraction of the cost with none of the operational headaches. Now, the 10 reasons, this is what keeps coming up in every single conversation with people who have made the switch. Every one of these has real data behind it, and every one of these is a piece of what makes the minivan strategy not just cheaper, but strategically superior in ways the industry never wanted the community to figure out. Reason 1 is the price collapse. And this is where the entire premium van economy falls apart on contact with reality. A base Mercedes Sprinter starts at $52,000 before any conversion. A finished all-wheel drive Sprinter with a residential build-out regularly sells for $120,000 to $150,000. A Ford Transit conversion runs $60,000 to $95,000 depending on the trim. A Ram ProMaster build-out comes in at $55,000 to $85,000. A used 2013 Honda Odyssey sells for $5,500 to $9,500 on Craigslist. A 2015 Toyota Sienna with under 100,000 miles runs $7,000 to $12,000. A 2017 Chrysler Pacifica goes for $9,000 to $16,000. The purchase price differential between a converted van and a used minivan can easily exceed $100,000. That is not a rounding error. That is the price of a house in 12 American states. The moment van life community members see that number in their own bank account after the switch is the moment the entire premium van industry loses its grip on them permanently. Reason 2 is the insurance rate difference, and this is where the industry math breaks down completely. A modified van used for full-time residential living falls into a coverage category that most standard insurance companies will not touch. The specialty van life insurance market that developed to fill the gap produces average annual premiums between $2,400 and $3,500 for a fully built-out van. A stock minivan carries standard passenger vehicle coverage. Insurance quotes on a used Honda Odyssey with a clean driving record run between $650 and $1,150 a year in most states. That is not a minor optimization. Across 5 years, insurance savings alone on a minivan versus a modified van exceed $10,000. And the insurance company is not asking questions about where the vehicle sleeps at night because the vehicle looks exactly like every other minivan on the road. Reason 3 is the fuel economy advantage, and the math here compounds monthly for as long as the vehicle is on the road. A Ford Transit with a full build-out gets 14 to 17 miles per gallon, depending on conditions. A Mercedes Sprinter with all-wheel drive gets 16 to 19. A Ram ProMaster gets 15 to 18. A Honda Odyssey gets 25 to 28 in mixed driving. The newer hybrid Sienna hits 36 miles per gallon combined. Across a typical van life pattern of 1,000 miles per month, that mileage differential produces monthly fuel savings of $180 to $260 at current gas prices. Across a year, the savings exceed $2,500. Across 5 years, the fuel savings alone could buy a second used Odyssey outright. The van industry did not talk about this openly because talking about it would collapse the entire premium conversion market. The minivan community talks about it constantly because everyone doing it can feel the savings hit their bank account every time they refuel. Reason 4 is the surveillance invisibility, and this is where the real strategic genius of the minivan reveals itself. The Flock Safety License Plate Reader network has expanded to over 40,000 cameras across more than 5,000 American communities. Every one of those cameras is trained to identify vehicles matching residential patterns. Sprinters with roof racks and rear ladder assemblies flag as van life vehicles. Ford Transits with visible solar arrays flag as van life vehicles. Ram ProMasters with exterior modifications flag as van life vehicles. A stock Honda Odyssey with tinted rear windows and a car seat still in the second row flags as a suburban mom running errands. The complete stealth van life builders spent thousands of dollars trying to achieve is built into the factory design of every American minivan produced across the past 20 years. The community members who have made the switch consistently describe the reduction in enforcement anxiety as the single largest quality of life improvement they experience. Sleep improves, mental health improves. The constant vigilance of van life gives way to the routine of parking a normal-looking car in a normal-looking spot and having nobody care. Reason 5 is the parking universality, and this changes the daily operational reality of vehicle living completely. Sprinter vans exceed the maximum length allowed in most residential parking zones across major American metropolitan areas. Ford Transits fit in most standard parking spaces but exceed the height restriction on many parking garages. Ram ProMasters have the same problem. A minivan fits in every parking space designed for a passenger vehicle across the entire American parking infrastructure. Residential streets, parking garages, grocery store lots, church parking, hospital campuses, school districts, corporate office parks. Every parking surface in America was designed with the minivan-sized family vehicle in mind, and every parking surface accommodates it without triggering the enforcement patterns that target larger residential vehicles. If this is landing somewhere real for you, drop your state in the comments below and tell me what vehicle you would choose right now if you were starting over. I read every comment, and the collective wisdom the community shares in the comment sections on videos, like this one, has become one of the most useful research tools anyone considering the switch actually has access to. Reason 6 is the residential zone access, and this eliminates the single largest source of van life enforcement exposure. Over 180 American cities have passed ordinances that prohibit sleeping in vehicles in residential zones, and the enforcement patterns those cities use are trained on specific visual signatures. Vans get reported by neighbors. Vans get flagged on Ring cameras. Vans generate the police calls that trigger the ticket and tow cascade that ends the van life arrangement for the community member on the receiving end. Minivans do not trigger those calls. Minivans park on residential streets across every American suburb every night without anyone questioning their presence, because the residential street was designed around the minivan-sized family vehicle in the first place. The ordinance targeting residential vehicle sleeping does not go away when someone drives a minivan. The visual pattern that triggers the enforcement does. And in the practical daily operation of vehicle living, that visual pattern is everything. Reason 7 is the 60-second transformation, and this is where the factory engineering of modern minivans produces exactly what van life required an $18,000 build-out to create. Honda's Magic Seat system in the Odyssey folds the third row completely flat into the floor, creating a level cargo surface long enough for a 6-foot adult to sleep fully extended. The Toyota Sienna's split and stow seating produces the same result. The Chrysler Pacifica's Stow and Go seating folds both the second and third rows completely into the floor, creating over 140 cubic feet of continuous interior space. The transformation takes less than 60 seconds in either direction. In the morning, the seats fold up and the vehicle becomes a normal passenger minivan capable of carrying 6 people. At night, the seats fold down, and the vehicle becomes a residential space with more usable floor area than most van conversions provide. That convertibility is not a convenience. It is the difference between a vehicle that identifies as residential 24 hours a day and a vehicle that identifies as residential only when the doors are closed and the world outside stops looking. Reason 8 is the sliding door stealth advantage, and this changes stealth camping in a way that van life builders never quite solved. A van with rear doors has to open outward, which is visible from 100 yards away and immediately identifies the vehicle as an active residential space. A minivan with sliding doors on both sides opens vertically along the vehicle's own body, which is nearly invisible from a distance. The person exiting a minivan looks like a parent grabbing something out of the back. The person exiting a Sprinter with the rear doors swung open looks like exactly what they are. The visual difference between those two patterns is the difference between an uneventful morning and a knock on the window from a security guard, a neighbor, or a police officer. Multiply that difference across every morning, every evening, every quick trip out of the vehicle for a bathroom or a coffee, and the sliding door alone accounts for a significant portion of why the minivan operates in complete peace, where the van operates under constant surveillance. There is also a parallel operational benefit that the community members who have made the switch report consistently. The sliding door can be opened partially, quietly, and closed the same way, which allows for silent entry and exit at any hour of the night without waking neighbors or triggering the motion-activated lights that van life community members have learned to avoid across the past 3 years of increasingly aggressive residential surveillance infrastructure. Reason 9 is the factory-tinted windows, and this eliminates one of the largest sources of aftermarket modification that van life required. Every modern minivan comes with factory tinting on the rear windows that meets or exceeds the darkest legal tint standards in most American states. That tint provides complete visual privacy from the outside without requiring the aftermarket window coverings, magnetic panels, or blackout curtains that van life builds always included. It also does not flag as unusual to enforcement officers because factory tint is standard on the minivan. Aftermarket blackout coverings on a van are one of the most reliable visual signals of residential vehicle use, and every van lifer with a stealth build has spent hours designing coverings that would not scream van life to the world outside. The minivan solves the entire problem at the factory, at no cost, with no aftermarket modification, and with no visual identification of the vehicle as anything other than a normal family car. Reason 10 is the reliability advantage, and this is where the Japanese engineering record becomes decisive. Toyota and Honda have produced minivans across 3 decades that regularly exceed 300,000 miles on original drivetrains with routine maintenance. The Honda Odyssey and Toyota Sienna specifically have documented reliability records that place them among the longest-lived passenger vehicles ever produced in North America. Mercedes Sprinters have been subject to multiple recall waves across the past 3 years, including the DEF pump fires that affected over 150,000 vehicles and do not drive warnings issued by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration for several model years. Ford Transits have their own recall history, including brake booster failures across multiple model years. Ram ProMasters have documented electrical system issues affecting over 200,000 vehicles. The reliability differential is not marginal. It is the difference between a vehicle that starts on the morning of a critical shift and a vehicle that is sitting in a specialty European repair shop waiting for a $4,000 part. And the parallel advantage extends to the repair infrastructure itself. Any mechanic in any small town in America can service a Honda Odyssey or a Toyota Sienna because the parts are common, the diagnostics are standard, and the training is universal. A Mercedes Sprinter requires a Mercedes-certified technician, parts from a European supply chain, and diagnostic equipment the local shop does not own. The community members who have spent time stranded in remote locations with a broken Sprinter waiting for a specialty tow describe that experience as the single strongest argument against ever owning one again. Meanwhile, the country continues to allocate hundreds of billions of dollars per year to the van conversion industry, the van life influencer economy, the Instagram aesthetic complex, and the entire infrastructure of premium vehicle residential arrangements that spent the past decade selling working Americans a dream that was never priced for them. The people quietly switching to minivans are not the failures of the van life movement. The people switching to minivans are the community members who ran the math, looked at the data, and reached the conclusion that the van life industry had every incentive to prevent them from reaching. The Honda Odyssey does not photograph like a Mercedes Sprinter in a canyon at sunset. The Toyota Sienna will never appear in an Instagram shot with lithium batteries and reclaimed wood cabinets. The Chrysler Pacifica will not be featured on YouTube channels making $40,000 a month teaching people how to spend $80,000 on a build-out. But every one of those minivans is doing the actual job the van was supposed to do at a fraction of the cost. With better fuel economy, cheaper insurance, complete stealth, factory-built privacy, sliding door invisibility, 60-second convertibility, universal repair access, and reliability records that outlast the entire industry that spent a decade convincing the community they needed something else. The switch is not a downgrade. The switch is the community finally telling the truth about what actually works. And once the truth is out, once enough people have done the math, once the community wisdom hits the point where the minivan becomes the default rather than the fallback, the entire premium van industry is going to have to answer for what it sold and what it charged, and who it left holding a $60,000 vehicle they cannot afford to insure, register, park, or repair. The influencer economy that spent a decade making van life look aspirational is not going to volunteer that admission. The van conversion companies that built their entire business model on $80,000 build-outs are not going to publish an apology. The community is going to reach the conclusion on its own, one dealership at a time, one Craigslist transaction at a time, one honest math session at a time, one Jennifer at a time. Which brings us back to Jennifer in Sacramento, driving her 2013 Honda Odyssey home for the first time to the parking lot where she will sleep tonight, with $12,000 more in her bank account than she had this morning, an insurance premium that dropped by 74%, a fuel bill on track to save her over $2,500 in the next 12 months, and a vehicle that does not flag on any surveillance system in any city in America. She is not the exception, she is the beginning of the wave. And by the time the wave crests, the minivan will not be the second choice. It will be the answer the community was always going to reach if the industry that profited from the confusion had not spent a decade convincing them otherwise. So the honest question this leaves you with is this: if the minivan was the correct answer all along, and the community that spent a decade in vans is now proving it in dealership after dealership, what does that tell you about who benefited from the confusion and how long the confusion was allowed to continue? Drop the vehicle in the comments that you would choose right now if you were starting over. Drop the year you first considered the minivan alternative. Drop the state you would live in if you made the switch tomorrow. I read every comment, and the wisdom in the comments on videos like this one is genuinely how the community keeps figuring this out. And if you are out there tonight facing the choice between a $40,000 van build you cannot quite afford and giving up on wheels entirely, the minivan is the answer nobody in the industry wanted you to know about. And if you or someone you know is facing homelessness and trying to make this arrangement work, there are people who help every day, and it is worth reaching out to a local 211 line or a housing assistance office, because sometimes the thing that changes everything is one call landing at the right moment.